It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Welcome everybody to our weekly two-way wrap-up where we attempt to wrap up everything that was good in the week that happened in Second Amendment realm. So we're going later than usual tonight. I don't own my schedule anymore, so I appreciate people's patience with doing these when we can. We attempt to do as much live stuff as possible. So if you're out there and you want to participate, we have a section on the screen here for comments. Feel free to leave a comment as we go along. We're reading the description of this video. So we're looking down and we've got the locked and loaded. Latinos posted their talk. There's their presentation from the Concealed Carry Expo from USCCA that they did in Dallas 2 weekends ago. And it's about an hour long. It's pretty interesting. It's called Minority Within a Minority, and that means the Second Amendment activists inside the gun community. So the gun community is a minority of citizens in the United States, and the Second Amendment activists are a minority inside of that minority. And pretty interesting conversation, and it's worth listening to for sure. It's about an hour. Just about exactly an hour long and pretty decent audio. I'd say it's worth checking out. They should be back to their regular show schedule here starting this Sunday. Then Gun Freedom Radio had quite a few shows. The one that we linked to is the one with Tusk. So if you're familiar with Crump, he has the guy on from Tusk all the time. Tusk sponsors the Crump show. Tusk is the universal settlement coin. The Universal Settlement Coin, TUSC, and that's a Bitcoin, basically. Bitcoin being a Kleenex, a generic term for cyber currency. So Bitcoin is a specific one, is a different one, but most people think of cyber coins as Bitcoins. But anyway, it's a cyber coin, and it's a cyber coin that's different in its characteristics in the way that it's built. Slightly from some of the others, which, they're all slightly different from each other, but they're all cyber coins. This one's big claim to fame, however, is that it was designed with the gun community, the firearms community in the United States in mind. It was designed so that it can become, or it is, an alternative to banks, an alternative to the situations that we see develop when companies, banks, and other financial institutions use social manipulation or they bring social issues into their decisions financially. And therefore, gun shops and other manufacturers and other organizations in the firearms community have trouble with financial situations at times. And this Tusk, this universal settlement coin, is designed to not just be a cyber currency, but a cyber currency for the firearms industry. With that in mind, it's a frustrating task, I'm sure, for Rob, who has to educate people on what cyber money is, why Tusk is different than the others. If it's not necessarily designed as an investment, why people would want to use it. Kojo's saying the Gun Freedom Radio episode was pretty good too. That had the lady that works at Attorneys for Freedom. Yeah, that is a pretty good one as well. I just noticed that the Attorneys for Freedom project reposted that interview. So if we go over to Gun Freedom Radio show, that one was called No Laughing Matter with Simone Park. And I did listen to this one. She's a management consultant and a stand-up comedian. She's lived in 10 countries. She's been a victim of violent crime. She was anti-gun and then switched because of fear of violence or whatever to being pro-gun. And now she lives in Hawaii and works for this law firm that's in Hawaii and Arizona. It's a pretty good law firm. And it says she fights for citizen rights for Hawaii and Arizona. And I'm drawing a blank. I did listen to it, but I posted this one mainly because Tusk is, I believe, got some potential for just like it's designed for. So even the community's financial side, or at least given the financial side an option. Okay, so thanks for that though, because I should put that in here too. Then we get their pot of gold auction. So GunFreedomRadio is Cheryl and Dan Todd, and they owned AZ Firearms and now still own Pot of Gold Auctions, which is run by their daughter. And the auction goes off every Tuesday. Most of the time they're firearms auctions. Occasionally they're art auctions or coins or something like that. This last Tuesday they had a firearms only auction. It was pretty awesome. I mean, there was like ammo and maybe a knife or two in there, but for the most part it was guns only. It was 250 items and they went quick. So a lot of good deals, a lot of crazy deals, a lot of expensive stuff, a lot of cheap stuff. A lot of fun watching it. We'll continue to watch those. We watch them live when possible. I've got a link to that there. Let's see. Then we've got the Gunners of America posted a video on their Minuteman Minute, episode number 42, in case Maggie's out there. And this one is talking about the VAWA, Violence Against Women, which is a new agenda or new route that the anti-freedom activists are attempting. So it's worth checking that out and putting it on the radar. Along with that, since Gun Owners America, or no, I guess this is FPC, but basically on the same strain of paying attention to legislation, Armed Scholar just got done watching the video where he's talking about Biden's UN gun control thing. So UN gun control is kind of like Santa Claus. It's crazy, but at the same time, it exists there every Christmas. So it's a yearly thing, and ordinarily it's blown off. Ordinarily it's used as a tool by both sides to create artificial tension. So it's easy to ignore stuff like that and to blow it off because it's been used historically as a token or a tool, but it still exists. And when you've got a politician in store who's in control of the wheel that is rogue when it comes to this stuff and is looking for excuses and looking for things to rattle cages, I'd keep it on the radar. Might be interesting for some people to have a conversation about potentially. Let's see. So then we've got the top 5 guns of 2002 and GunTube news. What is this? Oh, Santee. So Santee did this video where she does her GunTube news. This was number 2. She goes out and talks about what's going on in the community. And then in this case, she shouted out a couple of channels, including mine. So thanks very much for that. It's cool to see people that are aware of what else is going on, not just using the platform like a facilitator, but using the platform as a community. And many communities have come and gone, and this is an interesting one. It's in its infancy, literally. It's just started in the last few months, and Santee came up with others, Regular Gun Guy and some of the others, and the community's grown and started to diversify, divide, whatever you want to call it. And Santee is the one I've been watching. She seems to pay more attention to just what's going on and the people around her than hype and other focuses. So been enjoying watching her stuff, and it's cool to get a shout out on another channel. Doesn't happen very often. So next up is Almost Nightly. It's this guy's show. So this guy rips off the Daily Gun Show. He had a show on Thursday. This might still be too late. You never know. Let's see. My phone is broken, so it's hard to type, but good event. Yeah. I wonder, can you get Bluetooth keyboards for phones, like that Bluetooth into a phone so you can type on a regular size keyboard? I imagine you could do that. I've never personally done it, but I imagine it can be done. That might be an option so that you can not have to, for everybody who's fiddling with their phones and doing live stuff, maybe there's a way to Bluetooth. Let's see, I used to have like a Bluetooth Macintosh keyboard that it couldn't have been expensive because I wouldn't have owned it if it was expensive. It looked expensive, it was made of metal, but it was decent and it connected to a tablet, I think, so it must be able to connect to a phone, I would think. All right, so then let's take a break and do a commercial for this guy, and that'll give me a chance to drink a little bit of coffee. I was just learning how to make commercials, so I didn't know how to make them long. That guy doesn't know how to adjust his volume, and I don't know how to make them long. All right, so then we get, where were we at? Oh, the Liberal Gun Club. I guess they had an annual meeting, so, I just watch from afar. I don't pay that much attention to Liberal Gun Club. Half the time they're interesting, half the time they're digging holes that, they're writing checks that their mouth can't cash. Is that how you say it? Anyway, they had this Deviant Ollam guy on again. Whatever. Some people are going to like him. Some people aren't going to like him. But he had an interesting chat about gun safes. And I don't know if he intentionally or unintentionally brought a bunch of interesting information to the table, but there's certainly a lot of interesting information in that video. It's worth checking out. It's the Liberal Gun Club, so at least a portion of it's going to piss you off, unless you're not watching the show if it's not going to piss you off. Let's see. Then we get Rick Ector posted a thing about the Associated Press posting a story about his event. So if you're not familiar, Rick Ector does the Legally Armed in Detroit, which is an annual event that he's been doing. This is its 10th year anniversary, so it's been going on for a decade. And Rick will invite ladies from the Detroit area to show up on a weekend, a Saturday, started out on a Saturday, and give them an orientation and a familiarization, a safety briefing, and then if they want a chance to pull triggers on a firearm. So it gives them an abbreviated introduction to pistol type of course. And that gives people some awareness, some safety education, and some experience. And it's an event that's been going on for a decade. It's been successful and it's grown. And I don't remember how many ladies showed up for that first event, but now a decade later, his goal was to bring 4,000 ladies in. He had done 2,000, facilitated 2,000 ladies last year for the 9th year of it, bringing in multiple instructors and having, the session, there's the stations all set up so that he could facilitate so many individuals. You can kind of see in this picture that as they're lining up, they're going through different stations. So they're kind of getting a familiarization as they watch the other ladies ahead of them in line, and then they get their hands on. And then once they've experienced it, they have some time to wait in line as they get ready for the next, and then start to observe the next and then participate. Really cool, really, really cool event. And again, he's been doing it for a while. Last year, 2,000 ladies. This year, for the 10th anniversary, his goal was to have 4,000 ladies show up. And let's listen to how stupid Associated Press describes it. Well, I guess I should turn the volume on. So let me put this back on.
The Detroit grandmother was one of hundreds of women who received free gun safety and shooting lessons at an area range.
So of all the things they could show and say, they pick this guy pushing this lady.
Gun safety and shooting lessons at an area range.
And they say hundreds of ladies or hundreds of women. What a desperate attempt to downplay his achievement. So that was interesting. So Rick's smart, and whenever he gets mentioned, whenever he does an interview, he'll post a clip or a link to it on his channel, which is a good idea. And it archives what he's doing, his coverage, his reach, but it also gives us a chance to check out stuff like this, like when people are screwing him around and downplaying his achievement, belittling it, and marginalizing not just the effort, but the community. They refuse to acknowledge that 4,000 ladies show up in a town like Detroit to learn. Think about how desperate that would be if a situation would be that you'd need to show up to learn something. It's never been offered anywhere else. You have to show up and learn it on your own. So Rick saw that and created an answer, created something for that situation. Pretty cool dude. Been around for a long, long time. Hardly anybody pays attention to him over there in Detroit. Very much like Maz, just getting work done in real life. Let's see. Interview with Milkman Technical. That happened just earlier today over on Echo's channel. He was here earlier when the show was supposed to kick off. So thanks for showing up, Echo. Interesting chat. Another one, he's been talking to people basically in the industry. And unlike some of the channels that just talk to a CEO or somebody who's a marketing person for a big company, Echo is talking to dudes people who are beginning their companies or the beginning of a career. Let's see, then you get an interview he had a second interview this week with Alabama Reloader. Now, I didn't listen to that one. So I've listened to most of this Milkman one, but not the Alabama one. Foss is out there, I think. No, he's not. So he had a show on Saturday. Every other week he does a show. This week it was on Milsurp Guns. It's pretty interesting. And again, a show that's live for the people that are overnight, the people that get the work done, do all the real work in the world, and are appreciated. So I definitely dig shows that are live overnight. Then we get Combat Story. Had a second part of the Australian guy who is a PhD, a real doctor, also Special Operations, SAS, Australia. And cool dude, just an interesting story. So we talked to that guy for 2 whole sessions. Again, always worth listening to. Combat Story is a great podcast. They're on this is only episode 45, so it's still consumable. You could go back. They're only an hour and a half long or something at the most, so you can go back and consume the combat stories. Really cool focus on I was nothing to do with firearms as much as just military history, I'd say. Then last we got this. I've seen some stuff happen this week, so I decided to pull this one out. It's a year old. It comes from February of 2014.
Not comply. I will not comply. We didn't get this country from the British by non-compliance. We got this country from the British by shooting redcoats in their fucking face. So you can not comply all you want. That doesn't help. What you're saying is, I'm not going to do anything to help. Non-compliance won't help this situation. And what I mean by that is, here's how it will happen. And you already see it happening, but here's how.
And then he goes into detail. But I agree with Yeager that people that sit around going, I won't comply, are just saying I won't participate. And we don't have time for non-participation. Observers don't change history. Observers hopefully record it, but more often they're not even recording it. They're just observing. So they'll talk about it. They'll watch and they'll talk, but non-compliance is useless. It's just a way to add bravado to the lack of action. All right, so now we're going to jump over. That was everything that I found on YouTube. YouTube sucks, and I don't watch YouTube, especially when I don't have time to do it. So we're going to head over to Instagram. And on Instagram, what I attempt to do is click on or save things that are interesting. I just didn't find that many things this week, unfortunately. So we're going to start out with this little kitten, wailing on this little tiny kitten. I don't know if you can hear it. So I don't know if anybody's ever had kittens around, but that little kitten came up. I don't know if that's its mom or its dad or its bigger brother or something, but it came up being a little baby, to that bigger cat, and that bigger cat wailed on it a little bit, and then that little baby cat went underneath of that couch, right? I don't know how many times. That probably happens twice a day. So it's funny watching the comments of all these people that are not, I don't know what they are. They're dumb, but it's interesting watching the comments on that one. Then we get, has nothing to do with guns, by the way. Next, we got Sig Sawyer pulling out a SHOT Show. Thought that's interesting and curious to see how people are going to spin this, play this, make money off of this. So Sig decided that it wouldn't be worth spending over $1 million to go to SHOT Show. Instead, they're going to give $500,000 to the NSSSF, who hosts SHOT Show. And then it says, according to Prize Gunner, SIG also stated they're not willing to subject their employees to risk, health risk. So right off the bat, you've got a company that's, it's SIG, Sawyer, SIG USA. I don't know, there's a million different versions of that because the different versions of the company. So the current version, I don't know, a lot of people love SIG, a lot of people could care less about SIG, and then there's probably some people that hate SIG. I think most people are probably ambivalent, but I don't know. So we've got a player who claims to be a U.S. player in the market, and they're not going to go to the trade show. We've lost the NRA. You should watch some of the fights that people have when you say that the NRA, that virtue signaling that you hate the NRA is nothing more than virtue signaling. It's only doing the same thing Bloomberg wants for free. It's like doing Bloomberg's work for free. And when you put it in that perspective, people freak out. They can't deal with that. So I'm wondering how people are going to deal with their love of SIG with SIG not participating. Now, it's possible that people will take that straight to, well, it's cool to not participate, because that is kind of cool right now. Not participation, observing other people do stuff and then critiquing it certainly seems to be all the rage. Curious to see how people deal, especially the SIG fans, how the SIGnesses will deal with SIG not being at SHOT. How will SHOT deal with not having SIG there? I don't think they'll even recognize it. I think you could pull SIG, Smith & Wesson, Glock out of SHOT and it wouldn't make a hill of beans. SHOT is the industry, the obscure, like the, what's the word, like the altered focus that makes it look like it's all about the main players is just fake. It's not just about the main players at all. In fact, again, you could pull them from the show and no one would know. Literally no one would know. I don't even know where SIG is. I'm trying to think now. It's one of those booths that's got like 4 booths. They put one up in the police area. They put one up in the competition area. Probably have others. Okay, so SIG backing out of SHOT Show already. Then you get Stephen Hallbrook, who's an author, and let's see. So this is New York's futile search for historic precedents for its handgun carry restrictions. The Massachusetts model was not a carry ban and required aggressive behavior before it was applied. So this is interesting for me because one of the things I'm interested in is the beginnings of all of these laws. If we don't understand the situation and we allow a tyrant, for example, to suggest the rules are written in such a way, it's worth scrutinizing those rules and to understand, to figure out if that tyrant is being correct or not. And that's sort of what Stephen does. He also just does it as probably historical insight, but also entertainment to some extent. Because without action, this knowledge is useless. But he's constantly looking at the other side, the far history, where our tradition of the, what do we call it? Like our United States perspective that the individual has rights and that the state is restricted from denying the individual its rights, their rights. Stephen Hallbrook looks at the beginnings, those seeds, the things that happened pre-United States that give us that mindset that make us the United States. It's not something I'm as interested in, but that's why I'm happy to see Stephen out there doing it. And I try to focus on what he's doing for people that might be interested in that. And, maybe at some point I'll have time to go look at that prehistory stuff. This was kind of neat. I figured I'd post to it just for anybody who's a nerd. It's some kind of poster where what do they call this? this, where you shove everything together. They shoved all these different sci-fi things from I think it's just from the 70s all together. So pretty interesting. Some artists, like a comic artist's rendition of all these different, is this a collage? I don't know what they call it, when you smash everything together and like it looks like they're all standing in the audience of some speech or something. But I mean, they got Winnie the Pooh in here. Is that sci-fi? I don't know about that, but lots and lots of stuff. And as you look at it, you find more and more and more. And what's neat about it is it's a bunch of people on the ground, but then it's all these giant ships up in the air. So when you go back to look at that big version of it again, you realize that it's got some massive, it's got the Death Star back there. You know, it's got some massive vehicles and ships. At the same time, it's got, you know, a little tiny Piglet from Charlotte's Web, I think, and, you know, little tiny things and Kermit the Frog and stuff. I guess this is just everything, sci-fi and fantasy. So they're calling Muppet Show fantasy, I guess. But anyway, it's got a lot of stuff. It's got too much stuff, but it's certainly interesting to look at. And that's Soldier Systems. If you're not following Soldier Systems, you're wasting your time. It's a great channel. I wonder if that copyrights it. So I figured out over on Instagram how to do Reels, which is the little circles, except it's not the little circles. It's basically an excuse to be able to use music. So you can just go into Instagram, hork a piece of music off of their list, and then add your video to it. So I added the video of making a 3D orange lizard. I got some orange plastic for the 3D printer, and then shoved Dead Milkman song behind it. So I'm all happy I know how to make reels now. So I've been making a bunch of those. And then finally, we've got the DC project. 50 lady from each state that once a year go to the government, the federal representatives, and tour the Capitol. They meet with the representatives and change the face of gun ownership for those people in Congress. They do that at the national level and now the state level. And this year, they brought their delegates, the ladies that are involved in the project, to Florida to do some up training and some skill set development. And they're doing that this week. So there's a couple of different channels that are there that are posting stuff. I posted here to the DC Projects channel. Then again, I guess this one was Rebecca Schmoy. There's lots of ladies there and looking forward to not just their posts, but what results from their efforts out there. So this is just go into Instagram, and as I go through, I guess on the main screen here, if I find something that's interesting, like here's Rick Ector talking to Maj, right? I'll just click this little chevron-y looking ribbon thing over here, and that throws it into my collections. So it's tagged, but it's not, you know, not just a heart, but it's also a tag. What's all this about?
By starting with a plan, even if it changes as the week progresses, we are more likely to stay on track to achieve our long-term goals. Of course, we need some flexibility as things come up, but having a plan helps us make sure we are moving forward rather than picking what to shoot based on what we feel like that day.
So Guinea is, I think her name is Guinea Thrasher, is pretty cool. I've been watching this channel now ever since the Paralympics this year. She did some work describing some of the shoots and ways to describe the competitions at the Paralympics, and I think at the regular Olympics. But I don't know. I've been watching this red flag crap go up around, and she's now using the red flag thing, which I'm pretty sure Mom at Arms and Mom's Demand are fighting with each other using all these red flags in their posts. So it's interesting to see Ginny doing it. So interesting. So competition shooters are completely oblivious to laws. I think that's how it works. Anyhow, so yeah, as you scroll through, you might find something like this one from the page. They got this super long rifle here. If I wanted to, I could click on that one. I'm not gonna. Let's see. Well, I'm not gonna keep going. you get the idea. Anytime I wanted, I could click on this. It would save it to my save files, and then on the weekly show here, we'll go through and look at whatever gets saved. All right, so that was Instagram. Lastly, I found this little gun. I don't know if I'm allowed to show guns on this show, but interesting. So standard manufacturing in Connecticut. I don't know what is going on with this thing, if it's dirty or I don't know why it looks so gross, but it looks really weird. And then it's weird looking in lots of different versions. And then that opens up and it's like, what? So, yep, the mini revolvers continue to evolve. And now we're looking at yet another version. So it's called the switch gun, they're calling it. All right, that was the wrap up. And thanks everybody for showing up for the live part. Woods was out there, Rogue Roo, this dude, Kojo, and Barbecue. So yeah, appreciate you jumping in. Echo was out there earlier. Again, appreciate everybody being flexible with your viewing time. Time isn't my own, so I'll continue to do as many this live show each week. Thanks for your support. I want to thank our Patreons for making it possible for us to spend any amount of time on projects like this one. And not everybody has the same goals or abilities or resources, so Patreons are what make it possible for us to spend the amount of time we do on the projects that we focus on. So thanks again for everybody for showing up. Oh, I guess I need to open this up again. We will be back to pick you up later. Thank you for supporting our projects. Oh, since I'm going to show Gizzard on the way out here, we've got Travis does a show tomorrow. I think Rick still does a show maybe. You've got Barbecue does a show tomorrow, and G23. I don't know who else out there. But then Sunday, you've got Gizzard, who we're going to be ending the show with here, does a show on each Sunday morning. And then there's the Locked and Loaded Latinos in the evening. So with that, thanks everybody for showing up. Look forward to some Second Amendment stuff over the weekend. And we'll be back to pick you up later. There you go. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching GunWebsites.com.